Welcome to the Haunted Beard, everybody. My name is Jake. Thank you for joining me. Today, I want to give you my review for Humane. This is a horror thriller that just became available to watch on Shudder. But before I get into it, real quick, I just want to give a shout out and a thank you to all of my patrons. Thank you, Milos, Dreamer Bailey, Rick, Amanda, Kathy, Danny Darko, Chris, and Phil. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for help growing the beard. You guys are awesome. Sincerest thanks. Okay, let's get into my review. So Humane opens up and we are introduced to a world that is in the wake of an environmental collapse. There is a shortage of food, a shortage of water, and just overall resources. And so because of this, the government is forcing humanity to shed 20% of its population by creating a pretty big financial incentive for people to volunteer for this euthanasia program. We are then introduced to the character of Charles, played by Peter Gallagher, who is a wealthy, elderly man who has invited his 4 children over for dinner because he is going to announce to them that he is volunteering for this program. And of course, when he tells them, well, things get crazy, tensions rise, and all hell breaks loose. And this is a film that conceptually I found very intriguing, as I thought it had the opportunity to introduce some really interesting themes and ideas and kind of ethical dilemmas and stuff like that. And for the first half of the film, I thought the film was executing fairly well. However, once you get to about the halfway point, this thing just progressively gets worse and worse, unfortunately. The film does a pretty good job in the first half doing some world building, getting us familiar with the situation at hand, the type of world that they're living in, the seriousness of the situation. And it does a fairly good job kind of giving us some character intros and giving us a little bit of insight into the characters, specifically the 4 main children and really the father and his wife. And so the movie does a pretty good job of kind of taking this huge, worldwide global issue and really zeroing in on it and bringing it down to a very focused level within the confines of just this one family. And 90% of this movie pretty much takes place just in this one location in this house. And so given the concept and the setup, it built enough intrigue to kind of get me invested and interested in how this was all going to play out within that first half. But once you get to a certain point in the movie, that setup doesn't have much to do with how the film plays out. And so with such an interesting concept, I really felt like this was a missed opportunity and left quite a bit to be desired, as I just thought, again, you have such a good concept and there's so many themes and ideas that were totally left unexplored. The main issue that I have, particularly with the second half of the film, has to do with the actions and the behavior and the decisions by the 4 main characters of the movie, as I found their actions and decisions to be increasingly frustrating and really stupid. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get into some specifics, so I'm going to go ahead and issue a spoiler warning. If you want to avoid spoilers, go ahead and jump to the timestamp in the video. So you have been warned, here we go. So the main event that triggers the second half of the movie has to do with the main father. He volunteers to become euthanized, and he's doing it alongside with his wife. Well, the company who euthanizes people, they show up, but the wife disappeared. She took off and ran away. Well, they perform the procedure on the father. He's dead now, but they are contractually obligated to have a second body. So you have the 4 siblings now. They have I think 2 hours to decide which one of them are going to be the volunteer. And you can obviously guess with that type of setup, things are going to get wild, and of course they do. Now, 3 of the 4 siblings are insufferable and just all around terrible. They're just spoiled, rich, young people who are entitled and just all around terrible. And you are kind of actively rooting against, as you would genuinely enjoy as an audience member, any 3 of them being the ones who get killed. The one character who you actually take a little bit of a liking to is Noah, and he is considered to be the mess up of the family, the failure. He's also adopted. And so the three other siblings decide that he's going to be the one to go. And really what this turns into is a bunch of spoiled rich kids who are all fighting over their father's inheritance. And it turns into a survival movie, as again, the character of Noah, he's the one who has to fight back and fend himself from the murderous attacks of his three siblings. And just the way this plays out is really frustrating, and as there's a ton of really stupid decisions made. So, like, you get to a point to where he ends up taking a knife in the back and then gets into this room. And he's sitting there for a while, just kind of resting and relaxing. And I didn't really understand why the other three siblings, if they decide they're going to kill him, don't just bust in through the door and finish off the job. But I guess they decide to give him a break as they stop the attack for a while. Then he comes out of the room and is looking through this one room and finds the youngest daughter hiding behind a door. And she sees him and starts freaking out and gets all apologetic and stuff. And, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me. And he believes her. And he's like, okay, we'll be friends again. And of course, it's just a ploy to try to, get him killed again. So just stupid on his part. She distracts him by showing him this picture on the wall, and he's looking at it. And of course, one of the other siblings comes up behind him, and they've got a knife, and they stab him in the hand. And it's like, if you're trying to kill him, why did you just stab him in the hand? Like, it would have been really easy to stab him in the back or in the neck or something like that, but they stab him in the hand. There's this really cringy scene when Jay Baruchel's character is getting ready to stab and kill Noah, where he starts talking about race and skin color because Noah, the adopted son, isn't white like the rest of them. And it's just this really awkward scene that just comes across as pretty terrible. Then Noah's girlfriend ends up showing up to try to save him. Only she ends up getting shot because the company who does the euthanasias have these armed guards outside, and she gets killed. And then the other three siblings are like, well, his girlfriend died, so we're doing him a favor now by killing him. This is really what's best for him, so he's the one we should definitely kill. And it just gets to a level that it's so ridiculous, it almost like becomes a farce. Like, it gets so ridiculous that I couldn't really take it seriously anymore. Noah ends up kind of defending himself and fighting the other three siblings off, and he gets on top of the youngest one, and he starts choking her, and he's about to kill her. And then the other daughter is like, Noah, stop. What would Dad think? What would Dad think? Don't do it. And then he just stops. And then it's like the weirdest thing, because then all three of them, the other ones, the bad siblings, start volunteering. They're like, man, I'm a terrible person. Like, they just all of a sudden have this realization. They're like, man, I'm such a terrible person. I should be the one to die. And the other one's like, no, it should be me. I'm an even worse person. And it's just like, again, it gets so ridiculous. I'm like, what is going on here? It's too much. I can't take it seriously at this point. And then also, too, the film continues to cut back to one of the siblings has a younger daughter. They bring her out to this little RV unit that the company has. And it continues to cut back to a conversation between her and the main guy, played by Enrico Colantoni, I think is his name. And nothing all that interesting happens with that. She just kind of continually makes fun of him and tries to make his life miserable. But it just disrupts the overall flow of the movie. And so it kind of just feels a little bit choppy. And so I really just had issues with how the second half played out. It gets so ridiculous and so over the top. So many stupid and weird character choices and decisions. Those are my overall thoughts. This is one that, man, I felt like had such an intriguing and interesting concept with so much potential and so much opportunity, but the way it all plays out was pretty unsatisfying for me. Overall, I'm probably going to be like a 4 out of 10 for Humane. Like always, though, hit me up down below if you've seen this one. I would be really interested in hearing your thoughts. So, thank you so much for watching. Like always, if you got anything out of this video, go ahead and do me a favor and do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.